I'd like to call to order the March 25th, 2017 Brooklyn City Board of Education regular meeting. Mr. Street, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Neal?
Here.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Here.
Mr. Singer?
Here.
Mr. Hennings?
Here.
Mr. Oak?
Here. Thanks for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to student achievement, and I'm so used to saying middle school, but it's not the middle school anymore. It is the intermediate school. I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Glykoff, who's going to hand it off again.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Yes, this month it becomes Brooklyn Intermediate School is in the spotlight. It's great to see a lot of students here tonight. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Tansky, our principal, and I'm sure he's going to highlight some of these great young folks.
Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Glykoff. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm hoping for the adults in the room to take a moment to reflect back on your days of adolescence. There we go, exactly. Many times those responses do come up. You know, when I look back on my days, which was known as junior high when we were in school, you know, I think of my experiences of taking guitar lessons, trying out for sports teams, actually singing in the boys' choir. I'm sure I'll take a ribbon of that in the future. Volunteering at summer camp, delivering newspapers, and there are many other activities that I tried. And I think that's the point behind adolescence and that's part of the reason why we're here tonight, is really to celebrate the activities or the accomplishments of our kids. Having that attitude of trying is really what I want all of our students to have. This way it'll offer them an opportunity for support, to start looking at some of the things they're curious about, and to attempt something which might be easy to them, or it might even present a challenge. Isn't that what we want for all of our kids? I would hope so. It's really my pleasure tonight to present to the Board of Education and our audience on behalf of the intermediate school. We're actually going to honor 10 students who deserve this recognition for their endeavors. When I introduce the students, I'm going to simply ask them to briefly stand. I let them know ahead of time that we are being videotaped. They could either face mom and dad, or they could face the camera, give us a wave, give us a smile, whatever you're comfortable with. But I think you deserve this recognition, and then at the end we'll have a loud round of applause for you guys. Before I start into the student piece, I just want to kind of throw some numbers your way, just so you have an idea of some of the things that are offered at the intermediate school level. We had 8 students this year, which was really down from numbers in the past that were involved in the Bye Bye Birdie production. But again, based on the type of arrangement it was, I was happy with the fact that we had 8 students involved. We have 33 students who are involved constantly on a daily basis in our Hurricane Cafe. We have as many students as almost 60 that are involved on days that could go between Tuesdays and Thursdays. We had 22 students, boys and girls, involved in our 7th grade level when it came to the basketball team. 2 students were actually involved in the middle school level when it comes to the wrestling program. We had 4 students from wrestling, and we had 6 7th grade girls who were part of the 7th and 8th grade girls volleyball team going back to the fall. So all of these activities kind of encompass all the different things that some of our kids are getting involved in. I'm not going to read the whole list to you, but again, there's so many other activities that our students are involved in, whether it's Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, they might be taking martial arts, be involved with the rec center in some way. I know that we have students who are involved in dance and dance competitions, boxing. There's so many activities. Whole point of this is I'm hoping our students continue to try activities and try new things out as they get older. First person I want to introduce is Layla Schwinn. I'm going to ask you to stand. Based on past people that I've talked to, Layla was our first competitor in the Scripps-Howard Spelling Bee. So back on March 11th, Layla went down to Tri-C. Mr. Petrowski was our teacher who coordinated this event. And Layla, as you can see here, made it beyond. Beyond, I believe she made it to the 3rd round. Okay. So I wanted to recognize Layla for today, and I'm also going to come back to her because we have a second congratulations that we're going to offer her. Thanks, Layla. Some of our students were involved in the arts, and their teachers put forth their art for different awards. This is Youth Art Month in March. This is Emma Tran, and as you can see, not only was this presented or put forth by her teacher, but it was also in collaboration with Case Western Reserve University. So Emma's piece of work here was put on display down in Case, and that ceremony was back in March 19th. So Emma, congratulations. Derek Rost. Derek and his mom actually went down to Columbus for their portion of the, in a sense it is a competition where their art is being presented, and it goes in various levels. Derek's art is actually being displayed down in the state of, down in Columbus at the Rhodes State Office building. So mom sent us a picture for him. Derek actually went down to Columbus with his mom, and as you can see, we've got some students who have quite a bit of talent. So Derek, congratulations. Laura Wynn. Hi, Laura. Again, we have another student whose artwork is being displayed down in Columbus. This ceremony was held also in March. So these are students who are really going that extra mile and really putting forth their effort and spending extra time on their artwork. And again, this was submitted by their teachers, and these are works of art that are not only being displayed on their behalf, but they also have our school name on it also as it's being displayed. So Laura, congratulations to you. Kylie Clark couldn't join us this evening. This was actually also put on our Facebook page and was featured actually back in February. Kylie went to a competition, and if you look at the bottom portion of it, the one part that I want to highlight is some of the people that won this award in the past have been Robert Redford and also Andy Warhol. So her honor was really a prestigious one, which really stood out for us. Unfortunately, Kylie couldn't join us for tonight, but I did want to recognize her. Okay. Anna Mitchell. Anna's just one of our 2 fourth graders that we're honoring for tonight. Again, her work is being displayed down at Case Western Reserve University. Her rendition is of Picasso's face. But again, not only are these bragging rights for our kids, but they're bragging rights for our families, and they also show how great of a art department we've put together here in the Brooklyn City Schools. So, Anna, congratulations. Jaden was supposed to be with us tonight. Now her artwork was actually taken from her 3rd grade year and put in a 4th grade competition. So again, as you can see the pictures that are being displayed, these are the actual pieces of artwork that I was given by their art teachers to put on display. Again, down in Columbus, so it's being displayed down in the state, and that ceremony was also back in March. We have 3 students who actually are going to be presented awards for tonight. Mrs. Mack gave me their certificates. We want to congratulate them. Last year we had a Power of the Pen team that did very well, and we also have another team that did quite well this year also. Went on to the regionals. And at the bottom I gave you a little history of Power of the Pen in general, which actually started here in Northeast Ohio in the Nordonia schools. It started off as the Olympics of the Pen, and then later on they changed the name. But the first year that they did it, they had over 170 students that have competed. Now if you go onto their website, there are tournaments throughout the state. So those numbers have really blown up. It's become a huge organization, and it's a great honor for us. So I do want to present 3 students with awards. Zach Dyson. Zach, come on up and get your certificate. Congratulations. Thanks for you. Emily Gary. Congratulations. And Emily Bogman. Congratulations. At this point, we don't have the results from our regional competition. We're waiting on that. We could have some students who do advance on to the state competition. So we're keeping our fingers crossed every day, waiting for Mrs. Mack to get those results and to share those with us. bottom line, it really comes down to really saying to our students, get out there and try something. Become involved in some type of activity. Parents, I'm going to encourage you to continue to push your kids to try something new. It's a lot easier for them to try it at their age than it is at our age. And I think that, with more attempts and trying things out, I think we're going to find a lot of kids are going to be successful or find maybe something that they didn't know they were good at and become really solid at that practice. So I want to take an opportunity to congratulate our students on their efforts, and I'm hoping we can get a round of applause. Moms and dads, thanks for bringing them for tonight, and I appreciate you attending. At this point, I want to turn it back over to Dr. Billyhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Congratulations again to all these students. I think on behalf of the board, I can tell you congrats, and I want to echo what Mr. Tansky said. Intermediate school time, junior high time, it's a time really to try things and do things, and I really applaud you folks for doing that. Because it's time when you really want to explore stuff and things you might have an interest in, and you might find stuff that you don't have an interest in, and that's okay. But, certainly you've been successful in the things that you've attempted, and good luck with that, congratulations, I think on behalf of all of us.
Absolutely.
So, and thanks parents, as Mr. Tansky said, congratulations to you. I mean, this is your hard work, and you should also be here very, very proud of them. So, thanks for bringing them tonight so we get on our,
Great
thank
job.
you folks. Thanks, Mr. Tansky.
You're welcome. Thank you. On behalf of the board, I do want to thank you guys. Great job. I'll tell this to every time I'm on the board. I have two skills I lack: art and music. Just so you know, I'm not even good at stick figures. So, congratulations. And we're going to get on to the rest of the meeting. Parents, you don't have to stay. Kids, you don't have to stay. This is the boring part of the meeting. I'll be honest. Congratulations again.
You can just leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around, Laura.
In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, maximum 30 minutes of public participation as it pertains to school-related topics will be permitted at each meeting. Each person wishing to address the board will approach the podium and state his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is due. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board. Anybody? All right. We're going to go on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Terry. I actually just have, I got a few slides I wanted to talk about tonight. I want to do three things. Number one was to talk a little bit about Brooklyn transportation. Certainly this has been a topic that we have discussed as a board. Certainly Mrs. Neal and I have had multiple discussions about this, but I want to kind of give you where we are, current status, kind of tell a little bit of a brief story here. First of all, number one, as I think you know, we provide minimum bus service, focusing on our special education students. We have approximately 50 special education students who we bus on a daily basis, preschool and other special needs students. We also bus approximately 60 of our Polaris students as well on a daily basis. So very minimal in terms of who we bus. I've shared this before, the state rates transportation, and they look at it ridership. How many buses we have, how many kids are on them, the size of the bus, how many miles, and they do a quotient and they come up with it. And they say that effective rating is anything that is a 1.0 or higher. As you can see, our rating is a 0.2. And even that, I think, is really from something. So that's a concern, and obviously it's been a concern that this board and this administration has been aware of, just because of the nature of our fleet. The other piece is our fleet is a concern. Those are the ages of our fleet, as well as the miles on our fleet. Pretty concerning when you look at that. You know, the lowest one there, the newest bus, 2010, actually is a small special needs bus. So it has minimal miles on it just because of the nature of how it's being used for, but I think it seats about 3 or 4 typical students and 3 special needs students. So as you look there and you look at transportation, that's a concern. And that has really been the impetus for us, as you know, when we met with the Teamsters last fall and last summer and fall, and we negotiated a contract. And one of the things that we negotiated in that contract, which you approved in October, was a shared services or the ability to outsource transportation. And the language in there certainly says this, the district may enter into a shared transportation agreement with a third-party entity for the purpose of providing transportation. I appreciate the Teamsters cooperation with that agreement, because we outlined in more detail really what was on that previous slide. The fact that we've got some aging fleet and we just don't bus a whole lot of kids. So, to that credit though, we've got, mechanics and our bus drivers have really kept that fleet going and rolling. We're pretty fortunate. We've got some good folks that have kept that moving. But if you look at that fleet, I have concerns that, we'd almost have to buy a new bus, probably every other year, really to kind of get ourselves back going. And a new bus costs right now in the air about $95,000. So that's a huge concern to me. So with that being said, we've had the ability to do that. That's one of the reasons why during the past year, we've really explored shared service opportunities. We've talked with a couple of different school districts. We've talked with private vendors and really said, this is what our situation is and how perhaps could you help us with that. But one of the things I want to share is, though, we really went in with 4 things as items that were important to us in any sort of terms or agreement. First of all, the safety of our students. We wanted them to tell us that they were going to provide transportation in a safe bus and in transportation like our own, to the level that we would want for our own students. And so that was something that was paramount to us. Certainly we wanted to provide bus service that was at the same level of what we're serving right now. And so a lot of times we talk to them about, this is the route we're doing, this is where we're going, but we want to provide that service that we provide now our students and our residents and our families with that. One of the things that's been important to us has been, could our employees, drivers and monitors, who may be displaced by something of an outsourcing, have jobs? And fortunately, we've been received well in that. So that's something that's very, very important for us, because we know that this isn't just transportation for our students, it also impacts lives, and it impacts livelihoods of folks that are employed right now by the Brooklyn City Schools. So that's something we've gone into. But, one of the reasons why we'd be looking at this is obviously the cost savings to the district. And the cost savings, looking at it from year to year, but also looking out into the future. And that's one of the big things, because if you look at the transportation, you look at the fleet, one of the points I just made, if we would have to look at purchasing a new bus probably every other year for probably the next probably 10 years. And so, just think about those dollars racking up. We're talking about close to $500,000. And we've talked, obviously, Mr. Stevens has documented where we are in terms of the budget. I don't know where those dollars would come from. So that's one of the reasons why we're really looking at this as a possibility. So I wanted to kind of just outline that, because certainly over the last few months, Mrs. Neal, Mr. Street and I have been talking. It's getting quite serious with a couple of the vendors, and I'm hoping that we can probably have a contract or some terms in the very near future, and probably by the time we come back in April for our next meeting. So I know that's going to be something we're going to have some serious discussion about, because we want to, going back to that previous slide, we want to honor our own employees. and give them some opportunities of what they have in front of them, whether it's bumping into perhaps positions here in our district, or perhaps an opportunity that may not be in our district and with another entity. So this is going to move pretty quickly, but I wanted to kind of set it up and talk to you a little bit about that. So questions that perhaps I can answer about transportation.
Are we required to have bus monitors for special needs children?
Depending on the IEP, yes. And in some situations, it may behoove us to have that, depending on the nature of the students on the bus.
So how would we work that with an outside vendor with the bus monitor?
Well, you know, they would incorporate that into the service that they would provide.
So, and I'm guessing you probably already have.
So they do, perhaps, or if it's an individual run that just would have Brooklyn students, then they would provide a monitor, you know, down there. So we've told them exactly what drivers and what monitors are on each of our runs. You know, what a shared services opportunity does, though, is perhaps this vendor or this school district is going to the same place. And so there might be a monitor already on that bus. So that might be defined in that respect. So we're finding that when we're talking with folks.
Is it defined by per bus or defined by number of students on the bus?
I think it's really by need, to be honest, because there might be typical buses that don't have monitors on them. So, but in terms of special needs, I think it's truly on, you know, the need and on that bus.
Is it a one set price? Field trips are different costs,
Yeah, we're
football
looking.
games, whatever?
That's a good point, because right now we're looking at encompassing everything. So what you'll probably see when we come with a proposal to you would be, here's what it's going to cost the district to perhaps transport all of the students I spoke about before, our special education students, as well as our Polaris students. Then what we look at is, what would the field trips look like? And what we're doing is looking at that as kind of a separate entity. Field trips, you know, in the district probably cost anywhere between $35,000 and $50,000 a year. So, and those are athletic, but also extracurriculars. So we're working on that as well, and that will be reflective of that. So, good questions. Second piece I wanted to share, and I've talked about this in previous superintendent's report, has been the graduation requirements. You know, I've talked about, because the graduation requirements, these are the ones reflective for our junior class and younger. So class of 18, 19, and so forth. And these were the new ones that were institutionalized. And so they put those out there, and I've talked about these, at the end of course exams with the new tests, the workforce credentials, and then a college and career readiness test here in Brooklyn, we take the ACT. And so students have to get one of those. And it kind of hit ahead, and those of you who are down at OSBA probably remember this. You know, some of us as superintendents went down to the State House to say, you know, these requirements, you know, we could potentially see a lot of students in this class of 18 not graduate because of this. I shared, I think, at our meeting that we were in a pretty good place. We've got some students that have to take the tests again. We're concerned about that. We're in the midst of testing right now. But I don't think it was as dire as perhaps some of the other districts we were hearing. Nevertheless, the State Board of Education heard that, and they're reviewing this right now. And they're taking a look at this to say, is this the right piece? And just on Friday, they came up and they said, well, we've got some proposals. This is interesting. So this is stuff that could be changing as we move through here. One of which was, you know, looking at the proposals, and these are in the order that the State Board of Education likes them. One of the pieces they talked about was an alternate pathway for career technical students. Part of this alternate pathway is that students would have to complete 900 plus hours of career technical programming and then passing WebEx exams. I think that probably our students who are involved in Polaris, they would probably have that, you know, with the hours, and I think they'd take many of those WebEx exams, but they'd also have to earn an industry credential, which most of the programs at Polaris have, and then also incorporating some workplace experience. So that one has gained some warmth with the state board. Then as you go down here, these are some of the other proposals that are out there. And again, this has not been put, and that's why I put that in red at the top. They're talking about, well, let's keep the 18-point threshold for the test, but perhaps students can earn points in other ways. Well, they started to highlight that. Some of the ways they're talking about earning points would be community service, extracurricular activities, and good attendance. Not sure how I feel about those, but it's interesting that they're looking at a variety of ways to earn the points. So that was interesting. Again, going in the order that they really kind of saw them, setting an alternate lower exam points, meaning perhaps maybe we need to lower that 18-point threshold, and also incorporating their senior year attendance rate as some sort of point gainer. Interesting. Another was reducing the point threshold altogether, perhaps throwing it down to 16 or so. Reducing the ACT score. Again, right now, they're looking at a threshold of, this is college or career ready, and perhaps they need to lower that threshold.
You know what's that now?
I think, is it a couple different things?
Well, it depends on which,
The ACT?
the ACT, I think, is I don't want to, I apologize, I don't want to say it because I don't want to misstate it. I think it's a 19. But
It's either 18.
I was thinking it was, and again, I'll get that information for you, Mr. Hennings. I was trying to think it was 18 or 19 maybe for the English, and it might be 21 maybe for
It's
math.
yeah.
So I think there's two different thresholds there. So, but I'll get that information for you. And then, of course, the last thing they're talking about is perhaps waiving the requirement even for the class of 18. So this is going to be interesting, and I think they're having the state superintendent has put together, with the Board of Education, has put together a task force to look at the graduation requirements. So I suspect that you'll see something over the next month or two on that of what they're going to do. And obviously this is important for our junior class and subsequent class afterwards. So, but we'll keep you tuned in, but it's interesting how this has gained traction and then it kind of came back, and it'll be interesting to see where this finally alights here. So I wanted to share that with you because I know I've talked about it in previous meetings. The last piece I have is, I don't have a slide for it, is simply this, to just tell you that, and I shared this in my report, tomorrow morning I'll be heading down to Columbus. I'll be testifying in front of the House of Representatives Subcommittee on Finance for Primary and Secondary Education. Be down there about bright and early at 9 o'clock, and hopefully all goes well. Have some time to share my testimony and share that our state representative Martin Sweeney has got a couple of budget amendments that he's going to provide at this point. Hopefully that will look at different metrics: income level, median income, also poverty level of students, that perhaps might be a better way to judge how folks are on the cap or not. So going to push that, and hopefully we can make some ground. There's been a lot of testimony over the last few weeks on the finance. Probably will be in the House, we think, again for probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then they're going to have their proposal and then hand it off to the Senate. So here's our first crack at the apple right now, or bite of the apple, in the House.
Screw it up.
So, there's a lot on the line for us here. And
No pressure.
so we're giving college try here.
Absolutely none.
So, but,
That's a muscle down.
so that's, I'm looking
Break
forward to
somebody's
it.
arm.
It's good to go down there with a proposal and a solution, as
Correct.
opposed to just going down there and saying, hey, I don't like the way you're funding our school district. Here at least we're gonna have something that's gonna be attached to it.
Totally agree. I
So-
agree. Good job.
That completes my report tonight.
Good job. Thank you, Dr. Glykoff, and
You'll do well tomorrow, so appreciate that. We're gonna go on to the treasurer's report. We're gonna come to Mr. Street.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Neal. Wanted to bring the board up to date on the stadium fire restoration. The Liberty Mutual Insurance Company we are still owed, as we complete the project, $580,000 roughly from the insurance company. The contractor is still working on final items. We're going through a punch list. Any project that you work on, the punch list, the final items always take the longest. We wish we could speed it up a little bit. It does drag on longer than we would like. Dr. Glykoff talked to the insurance company last week, and they agreed on the phone with supervisor's approval to come, a $250,000 advance for the school district. And then, once the project is totally complete, we would receive the rest of the money. Dr. Glykoff and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. We aren't, we know what the final amount should be, but if there's anything that comes up in the final pieces of the construction with the contractor, we want to make sure that we don't sign off on anything with the insurance company before we know exactly what the cost will be. So we're going to get that advance, and then we will have final payment. Again, it depends on just the punch list getting approved by us and finalized by the contractor, and then we can move forward with payment. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and try to make it happen really sooner than later.
Did they give us a date on the 250?
Well, and not to take his time, I thought, I talked to him last Tuesday, they had shared with us that it was going to a supervisor, and we should have gotten something, so.
And Dr. Glykoff and I talked today, and I didn't have a chance to do it today, but I'm going to call tomorrow and see where the money is.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Is all the documentation that they had asked for all taken care of now?
We should have everything finalized, yes. Yes, as far as we know, there'll be some things that we'll need to clean up and make sure that I'll double check with all the parties involved to make sure at the end. But as far as we know, I think we have everything submitted to them that is necessary.
Oh, thank you.
And again, it would be things like some attorney's fees that we haven't been totally billed for yet. Some contractor items that might come up that haven't been finalized. Some things like that we don't know the exact cost, but that's what we would work out at the very end there. Okay, any other questions?
None of that?
Okay. Let's see, the next item, wanted to touch on the stage rigging project, but I have in my treasurer's request here for approval later on that has to do with stage rigging, so we'll save that for at that
Okay.
point. I do need to meet with the Finance Committee, which consists of Dr. Glykoff, Mr. Neal, and Mr. Singer, in regards to the levies that in 2018, 2019, and 2020, those levies will be coming up for renewal. And as a Finance Committee, we wanted to meet with bond counsel to talk about the best way to approach those levies that are coming up each year. If they could be combined, packaged into something different, and I will arrange with bond counsel to do that. That's something that's on our list to do.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is the building construction closeout. Really pretty much mimics the fire restoration of the stadium. The building, there's still a punch list left to do to close out the final cost of the building and construction. And I talked to the construction manager last week, 2 weeks ago, and he's as anxious to get it wrapped up so that they can move on to other projects as I think as we are. But it is dependent on them finishing that punch list, us signing off on it, and then making final payment to them. And then we will know how much is left in the contingency money that we did not use in construction that will go towards things like the stage rigging.
I saw that we spent $56,000, February 24th to Icon. Is that part of the punch list, I'm assuming, that we paid off?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Okay, wanted to mention also that the Suburban Health Consortium, as we've talked about, the district will be joining Suburban Health Consortium on April 1st. We will get an email out to employees to notify them. It's only a week and a half away now, and we'll let employees know next week is spring break, so we'll get them notified this week. They'll be receiving new cards in the mail, and we'll get that Medical Mutual is working on transferring us into the Suburban Consortium. And again, no benefits for Brooklyn employees will change. It all stays the same. We just get the benefit of being in a consortium. And as we talked about before, it will save us $260,000 per year in premiums by being in the Suburban Consortium, again, with no change in benefits to the employees. So it's really a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then the next item is, I still have in mind, and I've talked to Al Baco, who is with Stifel Nicholas, and we will work on refinancing the bonds and how much money we will be able to save and save the taxpayers over the life of those bonds. And Al and I will get together within the next few weeks, I hope, when we have some time, and we'll work on that. So that'll be something that will be coming before the board probably within the next month or so to talk about that, discuss the process and what we need to do. That's all that I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, I appreciate that. Anybody else? John? Good? Try and get that bond reduction before next interest rate, right? Yeah. We're gonna go on to board members and board member comments and board member committee reports. We're gonna start with Mr. Hennings.
Thanks, Mr. President. City of Brooklyn will be having their Easter egg hunt Saturday, April 8th at 11 a.m. Registration begins at 10:30 at the Brooklyn Senior Center. Resident children age 6 and under, rain or shine, bring a basket to collect your eggs. If you have any questions, please call 216-351-5334. I'm sure it's Maria who will be handling any of your questions. I'd like to thank everyone who took part in Bye Bye Birdie. It was a total success. For 3 nights, that auditorium was filled. The last one on Saturday night absolutely was packed. I want to thank all my classmates for showing up that did Bye Bye Birdie back in 1982. They all thought it was great. Thanks to Mr. Thomas, who showed up, the director from that play, and of course Mr. Zudi, who is always and was always a great teacher here. I think most of the comments on Facebook started out as what a great play and ended with, Mr. Zudi, you're a great guy, 150 comments, and by the end, 152 of them were about Mr. Zudi. So, as always, he was one of the greatest teachers that, we had at Brooklyn in my time. So I don't want to put anybody down, but he was a great teacher. You couldn't ask for a better teacher back in those days. Spaghetti dinner went fantastic for all of you who helped. Thank you all for helping. We raised roughly $3,500 from what I was told. Everybody had a great time. I'd like to thank the maintenance staff for getting the parking lots cleared. We're at the end of winter now, and a couple of those times, hit like just when everybody was coming. It's not easy. I mean, the streets, 1 minute they're clean, and the next minute, in the blink of an eye, you're no good rotten son of a guns for not getting them done. But
All's Winter Lane's done. That's all Winter Lane's done. That's all that counts, Bob.
it's always good. Winter Lane is right across the board, at least for another couple of months.
That's your job.
But again, please tell the maintenance staff that I know it's not easy, but being a guy who does plowing and salting, when it comes, you can't keep up with it quick enough. And for what I was told, everybody was pretty much safe. We had no accidents in the parking lot, so that's always a good thing. I'd like to congratulate the wrestling team. They had 2 state finishers, Andrew Zarins and
The other kid, Seth.
Seth Majewski. You know, you can't say enough about kids getting to state. It just shows what a good team we got. Congratulations to Taylor and Ray for doing a great job with the kids. Better luck next year. Maybe we'll have 4. Hopefully the kids will get jealous and want to get those same accolades down there. Congratulations to Marcello for finishing 15th. I know he's not here, but 15th, I think out of like 1,500 bowlers. I think he was somewhere between like 15th and 29th, right there. And also, I'd like everyone to get out to the rec center after seeing the statistics of what's going on. How many 80% of the people in the city doesn't take advantage of the rec center, and 20% of the people have only tried something. And so we got 80% of the people in the city not doing anything at the rec center. So please get out, and you got summer coming up soon. You got spring vacation next week. Get up to the rec center. They got so much stuff there to do. You know, swimming, cardio, all of it. Get out and do something. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hennings. On to Mrs. Parkcheck.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank Mr. Tansky and the intermediate school. There's a lot to be proud of with those kids, and they're doing a great job. So thank you again for that presentation. I would like to thank and congratulate all the students who participated in Bye Bye Birdie. I would also like to thank our music boosters for their support, and they really help run the show and keep the machine going. So I really like to thank them. I would also like to thank our parents and our volunteers and everyone who came to our spaghetti dinner, bought tickets for the baskets, everyone who came out. It was really a success because of the community. I'd like to thank Mrs. Pam Vercio for really taking that on and all that she's done. She's really took on quite a big, enterprise to take on, and she did it very well. So thank you to her. I hope everyone has a very safe and happy spring break, and I can always be reached at 216-406-4304. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. On to Mr. Roper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'd like to thank the intermediate school as well. You certainly made a good point, Mr. Tansky, on trying everything, because this is the time to try everything before the crush of adulthood hits you and you don't have time to do anything.
Arthritis kicks
Yeah. Despite the weather last Tuesday, we did have our Polaris meeting. We reviewed our marketing strategies that are reported on last month. Bill Willis of WTAM is a huge booster for Polaris and has had Doug Miller, who's the Director of Community Engagement, on the air to get the word out even more on Polaris, and has also replayed the interview several times. Without getting a lot of dry statistics about website hits and page flips after advertising blitzes, suffice it to say that targeted advertising in the radio spots have resulted in a marked increase in high school and adult registrations. Also, I'm proud to say that once again, Brooklyn leads the rest of the consortium in having the highest percentage of juniors and seniors attending, 52%. And that's a credit to Polaris and the students attending. Lastly, the 3 construction companies that made the cut for renovating the campus at Polaris have submitted RFPs and will be making presentations to the entire board. They are A.M. Higley, Donnelly, and Panzica. This is old news. It's good old news that I like to always report. For the 8th straight year, Polaris took top honors in the culinary team event at the state competition in Columbus, and will represent Ohio Nationals in Charleston, South Carolina next month. In addition, 2 Polaris students received individual honors, the Outstanding Culinary Student Award and the Outstanding Management Award, and both of those are $8,000 worth of scholarships, which adds to the $572,000 that they've received so far from several culinary schools. Polaris is hosting the 10th annual Polaris Cuyahoga County Career Fair on Wednesday, March 29th from 9 to noon. This year's event will have 75 employers. Agencies and reps from Polaris will be on hand to provide attendees with access to educational resources, financial aid, and job seekers, and much more. Job seekers should bring copies of their resume and dress for an interview. If you have any questions, go to www.polaris.edu for more information. On the legislative front, I have two items. First, as Dr. Blackout mentioned, tomorrow I'd like to wish you good luck to discuss fair funding for schools. The statement hits all the right notes. I look at their education-related bills that are before the House and Senate every week, and it's a really long list. I could pick and choose a few bills that are specific, such as the one that calls for mandatory cursive writing in schools. But being on the board for a while now, the need for proper funding is the most essential one. This has to happen to take an unfair burden off the taxpayers' backs. Also with the, I don't know how else to put it, uncertainty of the new education secretary's true feelings are in public education, this is a difficult time. Representative Brenner recently reintroduced the school funding proposal, House Bill 102, which looks at, it's something that's been in front of the legislature for years now in various forms, but basically it would replace locally levied school district property taxes with a statewide property tax, require the state treasurer to issue new bonds to refund certain school district obligations, and create a new system of funding schools where a state pays a specified amount per student. What a novel idea. So each student can use to attend either a public or charter non-public school. It eliminates the Ohio School Facilities Commission and eliminates voucher programs and open enrollment. I'd also like to thank those that attended the spring musical and the spaghetti dinner. Your continued involvement and support of the district is always much appreciated. As always, I can be reached at james.oper@brooklyn.k12.oh.us or 216-485-8195. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Oper. On to Mr. Sanger.
All right, thank you again to Mr. Tansky and your staff and to the children who received those awards. It's always very impressive to go down to Columbus to the Rhodes Tower or the SCRS building and see Brooklyn students' artwork. They go, I know that person, and I know that school. So that's quite prestigious too. I think there's about 1,200 classes that participate statewide in that art event. So that's pretty good to have Brooklyn's artwork. Thank you for that. I was going to piggyback on everybody else, but I think it's important that I want to thank the teachers, principals, staff, students, volunteers, and parents for all their hard work in making the support our school spaghetti dinner a rousing success. Special thanks to those business sponsors as well for the donations of their baskets, and to our city officials who came out to support our permanent improvement levy, which is up on the ballot this May 2nd. I also like to thank the hundreds of parents and citizens who came out to break bread with us in that tenuous weather. And I'd like to especially thank all my fellow board members for being there to answer questions and offer support. Good to see all of us there taking corners, and Dr. Blackout there also fielding calls and information about this upcoming permanent improvement levy. So I hope you all had a chance, for those who attended the dinner, to see our well-maintained facilities and also the need to keep them that way. Our city sent out a survey recently to gauge the sentiment of our city services and what draws people to live or work in Brooklyn. The findings were very interesting, especially with respect to what the ranking was on question number 20, which I found very important. Public safety came in first, with 63% of the respondents saying that was number one. Second came affordability of housing, followed by proximity to family at 34%. What came in next at 31% of the citizens responding was the quality of our schools. This goes ahead of all kinds of other services and programs that the city has to offer. What it tells me, and hopefully the rest of our board and our staff and administration are that we're entrusted with making sure that our schools continue to provide a safe, secure, and productive environment for our children to learn and grow. Not only is the permanent improvement levy important to pass in May so that we can maintain our schools, but we're going to have a tough road ahead of us when we have some additional operating levies that we're facing for renewal. And we hope the community comes out and supports us as they have in the past. With that, please keep April 7th, the weekend open, distribute information literature about the May 2nd levy. If you are interested in helping out, putting up signs or, literature, you can call me or anybody at SOS Community or call Dr. Blankoff's office. I'd like to remind everybody, a great event, especially if you're a foodie like me, you can probably tell. April 8th is our annual Taste of Brooklyn at the, correct me, I forget the name of the party. Copperstone, okay. Senior moment. And that is to support the scholarships for our schools. And folks, if you want to taste some great food from some of our local restaurants, that's the place to taste it. Great camaraderie, and most importantly, Mr. Sullivan and his jazz band plays for us. It's a great event, and we'll have wonderful weather to boot. I know we had a discussion in the last board meeting about school bullying. I want to just finish up a little bit with this. This leads me to assure that every parent to know that this school board will not tolerate any form of bullying and refuse to tolerate any indifference towards any child being bullied without remedy. If you as a parent goes to the channels here and report an incident of bullying or sexual misconduct, it will be addressed. If you feel that a solution was not acceptable, I encourage you to call me or any of my fellow board members. I know Dr. Blackcock is implementing some new programs and policies that will affect and improve any bullying issues, but as a board member here and a parent and citizen of Brooklyn, there's no room for any sexual misconduct or bullying in our Brooklyn schools. Again, like the rest of my fellow board members, congratulations to our cast, our staff, and our boosters for another year of exceptional entertainment with the production of Bye Bye Birdie. I felt like I was sitting in a Broadway theater. Great event. I kept looking up the ceiling to see if it was going to leak. So that was nice too. Anyway, if you need to get a hold of me, you can reach me at 216-978-1931. My cell phone. I also get texts, accept text messages, or you can reach me on my email at rick.cyng@brooklyn.k12.oh.us.
Fortunately, it didn't rain.
Yeah, I kept looking at them, see.
Please, no.
And a report.
You got it. April 8th is going to be a busy day for the Easter egg hunt. Then you can go to the Taste of Brooklyn. You know what I mean? You're going to have a nice day there.
Yeah.
Do it in reverse.
Distribute a little literature too.
Distribute a little literature.
Again, just to reiterate, spaghetti dinner, support our schools. It went extremely well. Again, the volunteers, the spaghetti. It's a lot of work for a lot of people. And they did a wonderful job, so we thank you. We thank everybody for the participation, the city people, all my fellow board members. I did some babysitting most of it, but I was okay. I was okay with that. You know, when you see your grandkids, it's half the battle. So it was a nice event, and again, thank you. Dr. Glykoff, you'll be perfectly fine tomorrow?
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, make sure you
You need to take some
your
muscle with you.
milkshake off in the morning or your fruit smoothie and you're ready to
Fruit
roll.
smoothie
All
might be
right?
it.
Sounds
Take
like
it.
a plan. You'll do fine. Appreciate that. Where was I? Mr. Street, Mr. Glykoff, or Dr. Glykoff will make sure we follow up with the stadium fire and the insurance and all that stuff, and you'll get back to myself or the board member. I'd appreciate that as soon as possible, once you hear something. We greatly appreciate it. Technology, we had a technology meeting last week. What I've given the technology committee basically is if the bond passes, when the bond passes, you can do this. And if the bond don't pass, we do this. All right, so I'm looking for a proposal from two sides of the coin. That's me personally in the technology committee. Finance committee, we do need to get a meeting together. So if you'll get a hold of us to Mr. Maniloff, Rick, right?
one little additional here. I've gone to the firefighters reverse raffle. The Brooklyn firefighters have it pretty nice. They raise it for burn victims. Most of the money goes to the burn victims. They're having it May 13th at Brennan's this year. It's always at Brennan's, but just a different month this time. So if anybody's interested, you can get a hold of me, and I'll get you the right number. My number is 216-570-3893. It's a nice little event. All the Brooklyn firefighters who support us, who actually, I delivered 6 dinners to their fire station for the spaghetti dinner as well, too. So they were very generous there, too. So that's May 13th at Brennan's right up on Trisket. And that's all I have. We're going to move on to approval of minutes and financial statements. And tonight's reader is going to be Mr. Bob Hennings. Mr. Hennings?
I be resolved that the minutes of the following Board of Education meeting be adopted and all action taken by the Board of Education at said meeting is hereby reaffirmed and approved. Regular meeting February 21st, 2017. Special meeting March 7, 2017. Special meeting March 15, 2017.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Mr. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the financial statements of receipts and expenditures for the month of February 2017, including all purchase orders paid and all then announced statements for the month of February as submitted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Mr. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the second reading and adoption of the following board bylaws and policies. Definitions, meetings, evaluation of principals and other administrations, privacy protection of fully insured group health plans, special education, privacy protections of fully insured group health plans, privacy protections of fully insured group health plans, Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, student fundraising, crowdfunding, technology privacy, web content, service and apps, transportation, relations with special interest groups.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Dr. Glykoff, you want to review this real quick for us,
Yeah,
please?
yeah, we did a first reading last month on these. Again, the theme that I said, I don't want to go into too depth, but a lot of technology, crowdfunding, special interest groups, those were kind of the themes that ran through this. Just because we have 2 on there for board policies this month, I just want to make sure. These would go into effect if they were approved positively tonight. The second 4.2 would go into effect as of August 1, per what the discussion was around. So, all right, so that's why they are separate resolutions tonight. So,
Appreciate that. Anything else? Anybody else? Go ahead.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District.
We have to vote on
Oh,
that.
Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies.
No, it's not, I pushed you too far, so, go ahead, Mr. Street, my bad. Can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Now you
You sure?
can go. Sorry.
We're good to go?
Not sure, but I can go.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the second reading and the adoption, did I just read that?
No.
No. This isn't-
Reading and adoption of the following board policy effective August 1, 2017.
There's a little one right underneath the interschool.
Oh, interscholastic athletics.
Have a motion,
So
please.
moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
This
Dr.
one
Clark.
essentially raises our GPA for eligibility to 1.8, but what it additionally does is it looks at creating a study table where students who are actually below a 2.0 threshold and are participating in athletics would be mandatory study table. And so we're working with high school administration of what that would look like and so forth, but I think it's a good way to keep the student in front of the student athlete. I think it really puts that as a priority, our academics.
And just so everybody knows that the board had a work session on this, and pretty adamant about taking care of this, because don't be surprised if that goes up again. That's all I can say. I don't know that for sure, but it's a possibility. Anybody else? Mr. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henning?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Oakley?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent to enter into an agreement with Cuyahoga Community College and the University of Akron to qualifying students for college credit plus during the 2017-18 school year per the attachments.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I wanted to put these in front of you as the board because these are two higher level institutions that we work with here in Brooklyn High School, actually it could be Brooklyn Intermediate School students for that matter, where our college credit plus opportunities. We have some students who still attend Tri-C, but Akron U has been where our dual enrollment courses. We have those 3 this year. I think we're looking to expand that to 4 next year, so those 2 agreements.
Appreciate that. Mr. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henning?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Oakley?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the 2017-2018 school calendar per exhibit.
Can I have a motion, please? Second. I'll second it. Questions, comments? Dr. Klaikoff, can you
Yeah.
help us out there?
As noted in the past, we looked at a calendar this year. This has been vetted through the administration with our teachers union as well, back and forth a little bit. What we're mirroring is, some of the key dates starting the week of the 21st of August, which is the same time that our other Polaris schools are starting, and that's also when Polaris begins. Have the same spring break as Polaris. Again, if we go on spring break next week, we try to coordinate that for our students. Looks to also end our first semester before the winter break. I think that got some very positive remarks from our high school because of trying to get the exams before then. It really kept our students focused during that month of December, and we noted that. And brings us really just the start of June. So again, kind of backloads a little bit of the days in the second semester, but look at it, we had a couple of snow days now, and we know that that's going to happen in Northeast Ohio. So that's kind of the thought process through the calendar for this year.
I noticed that there's one district has gone to changing it up after Labor Day. And I know
Yeah.
we've had a general conversation, nothing in great detail.
Elyria Schools has done that. Elyria has gone to after Labor Day. That's interesting because that's the district in which the Senator Gail Manning is from, who's really been a proponent of that and is pushing that for the 18-19 school year. So that's been in the introduction stage, that they're looking to try to do that across the state, but that would be for the 18-19 school year. So it'll be interesting to follow that legislation and see where it goes.
Since most of us went to school after Labor Day,
Yeah,
that's sitting up there.
I went through the end of June as well, back in New York, so it was late.
Oh,
Then again, it still was probably snowing in June in New York, so.
Yeah.
Where you were at?
Yeah,
That's a
it
good
was.
chance.
June
Didn't put
13th
shoveling
we
to
went
the
to.
line. Sounds like a plan. Anybody else?
I would
Go
like to be
ahead.
recognized.
Sure.
I don't support the start date for the school year. I think I do support the after Labor Day. No one up here is surprised by that. And I also feel that we shouldn't run our district and 1,400 kids on what 60 kids are in Polaris. And I think Polaris is an opportunity for our students to learn responsibility, to be career ready, to be independent, and with that comes responsibility of, if school's not in session here, just like it is on some snow days, they still are responsible for getting to Polaris. That's life, that's the real world, that's your career, that's what they're going for. So I think starting after Labor Day is a great thing, so.
I think
look forward to that.
That's a good point. I think it's something we need to discuss as well, too. I mean, somewhere down the road, I think everybody may revert back to that. We'll see. Anybody else? Appreciate that. On to Mr. Street, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
No,
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby accepts with regret the following retirement effective July 31st, 2017. Ms. Darla Dempsey.
Can I have a motion, please?
so moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
No, it certainly comes with regret, and you'll see the commendation later there. I mean, Darla's been with us over 20 years, so,
What did she teach? Was she a teacher?
Cleaner.
she's close
Cleaner,
my
cafeteria,
okay.
everything.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Yep. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes,
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby commends Darla Dempsey for her 22 years of service to the students of Brooklyn.
Can I have a motion,
so
please?
moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Enjoy your retirement.
Yeah. Grandkids, I think, are in there too.
What life's all about.
Mr. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes, thank
Mr.
you.
Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following persons for the 2016-2017 supplemental coaching assignments with the provision that such individuals comply with all Ohio High School Athletic Association rules and regulations and State Department of Education regulations pertaining to the proper certification and/or first aid training and fulfills the requirements of the job description attached to the supplemental contracts. John Holko, varsity baseball assistant coach. Craig Morrow, junior varsity baseball coach. John Fecco, junior varsity softball head coach. Michelle Rivera, varsity softball assistant coach. Jennifer O'Banion, junior varsity softball volunteer. Jason Hubble, middle school track head coach. Kyle Akins, middle school track assistant coach. Mike Samansky, varsity track assistant coach.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
Do we have a head varsity coach?
All our varsity coaches were actually approved a couple months
Right.
ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is just really filling in our staffs in
Oh, okay.
each of these sports.
Anybody else? Mr. Street, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
No,
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the resolution accepting the amount, and rates as determined by the County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal office.
Can I have a motion, please?
So-
Can I have a second?
second.
Questions, comments, Mr. Street? Can you handle that, please?
Yes, the County Budget Commission sets the tax rates for the school district. The voters approve the levies and vote on them, but there is some, lack of a better word, manipulation by the county to make sure that the school district does not receive any more money than was initially voted in by the taxpayers. So where we have a couple of emergency levies that generate a specific dollar amount, the Budget Commission makes sure that we just receive that amount of money and don't receive any more. So the bond retirement fund is set at 5 mils to be collected. The general fund has inside millage of 4.6. which was granted to this district many years ago, that was not voted on, it was just granted, let's say 50 years ago. All the entities got a chunk of 10 mills many years ago. Outside millage that was voted on by the taxpayers is 49, and so for a total of 4.6 inside mills and 54 mills voted is what you are approving tonight for the County Budget Commission to collect for us next year.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mrs. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Hennings?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Be resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education approve the treasurer and superintendent to proceed with the process and advertise to competitively bid the stage rigging for the stadium auditorium.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? This is one thing we've been waiting for. That's a rumor going around. Right.
Anybody comment on that, Mr.
Yes, I
Street?
want to make sure that the board knows that we're moving ahead on this, also gives permission. I've been informed from some other board members at other districts that sometimes the bids are let out, and if the board doesn't always know it, and then they have it on their agenda for approval. So I want to make sure that this board is aware of anything that we go out to competitive bid, has your approval to go out for that, and then we will start that process to get the advertising, the drawings and things have been done, but we'll get the advertising properly done according to law, and then eventually get the quotes back in, or the bids back in, and then open them and vet them at that time.
Based on what you've told us so far, we're not really anticipating a verbal cornucopia of bids.
That's what I understand, is that there are not a lot of companies that do this type of work, so we will see what happens. But as long as we follow the process of the law, even if we just have one, and you always want to have as many as you can, because then generally you would expect the price to be obviously competitive, and you could get the cheapest rates you can. If there's only one bidder, then you might have to pay a little higher amount, but as long as we follow the law and we're comfortable with that price, we can do it.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Singer.
John, I won't get caught up in the weeds here, but, is the bid for the rigging, is anything going to be addressed as far as, is it going to be contingent on, subject to inspection of the roof? Because I remember way back when the rigging companies were talking about the fact that some of the anchors for the rigging are anchored to the roof of the building.
Can I answer that one?
Yes.
Way back when, we had a structural engineer come in. I think it was Barbara Hoffman, if my recollection, thank you, Mrs. Gale, for confirming that. And they were really the impetus of this whole thing as well, because that was one of our concerns. If you remember, we had concerns with the roof. And then it was, well, where are those coming from? And then we had someone come in and said, hey, you know what, there's a lot of weight being pulled there. So Barbara Hoffman was the initial structural engineer that was brought in. And so they did an analysis, and then from that analysis, we had Tiffin Scenic come in as a company to say, if we were to do this, we want to take into account what that structural engineer said. So that we feel very comfortable right now that we've got a structural engineer. But again, we want to dot all of our I's and cross our T's to make sure that this spec that we've received does conform to that Barbara Hoffman structural analysis.
A lot of it wasn't even going into the ceiling now, from the way that guy was talking when I was here with that meeting. He was talking about frames and stuff, that it wasn't even gonna affect the
They
ceiling.
would do less of the dead hang, is the terminology that they've used with us. And, a lot of the things pull. I've become a structural engineer now. You pull it away instead of just pulling down.
Right.
And so, it disperses the weight considerably. But that's a very layman's way of explaining it. But, you know, I feel pretty comfortable because, you know, they're looking at putting, you know, taking out a lot of the guts that's out there now, which is a lot of those weights and those things, and putting some newer, much more, I mean, because that's 1950s technology.
Elvis.
Once, you know,
Raffle off the,
I'm telling you,
the shirt.
when the
That's
cast
a
was here,
fundraiser.
when the 1982 cast was here last week, they're walking around, they're going, oh my God, nothing's changed, it's still the same curtains and the yellow rope and everything else. I was like, nothing's changed, I'm like, why change the that?
Curtain to Elvis's down wherever it's at.
Auction,
Yeah,
walk out.
auction off or whatever. Take it on. It's the same curtain, which I believe it is. Anybody else? Mr. Street, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henning?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Oakley?
Yes.
Do we have any correspondence related to action information? Anybody? None at this time. Any other business?
Yes, Mr. President, I forgot to mention in my report that the Associate School Board dinner for Polaris will be Tuesday, May 9th. I'm sure Mr. Singer's going to make a special invitation.
That's the one where they got Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Are they doing that this year? Are they doing
Yes.
the whole thing?
Yeah, this will probably be the last one for a couple of years due to the renovation.
Mr. Oper, what date was that?
Tuesday, May 9th.
You're not allowed to go. I get your dessert. It's pretty good meal.
It's a very
It's
good.
one of the better meals.
I want to just say, you know, wonderful job by our SOS committee from last Saturday. They did wonderful work, great volunteers. I want to thank my own administrators who did great work and put a lot of time and energy into it. Mrs. Neal, you know, particularly, and I think it was well done. It was well attended. And I think most importantly, in talking with folks, I think there's a good feeling about the PI lab.
The reason.
And if you look at it, that was really one of the things we were trying to achieve, and I think we achieved that. So, you know, but I think overall it was a great way just to get a lot of people together, and it was fun, and it was a steady stream as the night went on. So, I want to thank, you know, my administrators for all their hard work with that. And then I think the only other thing is just trying to nail down a date for a work session in
You know, we spoke earlier, April 5th, I believe, is gonna work for everybody, so our next work session will be April 5th in the treasurer's back office. I'm assuming 6 o'clock, correct? Everybody's good at 6 o'clock, so let's go April 5th, unless something comes up. That is for our work session. All right, appreciate that. And the last thing will be the announcement of the next regular meeting of the Board of Education, Assembly on March 21st. April 18th, Tuesday, April 18th, in the Media Center located at Brooklyn Intermediate/Elementary School, 9200 Bidoff, Brooklyn, Ohio, at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Mr. Street, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Henning?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Singer?
Yes.
Mr. Oakley?
Yes.